KKHT wants you to meet three of the classiest guys in real estate.
I am Chris Kelso, the maestro of mortgage.
I am Rob Cook, the godfather of real estate.
And I'm Joe Orsack, the king of credit swing. And together, we're
the Real Estate Rat Pack.
Much like us, real estate right now is smoking hot. So whether it's buying, selling, or owning, you need to check out the Real Estate Rat Pack.
They're here to take your calls and answer your questions live. Call now 1-800-808-5548. And now, the Real Estate Rat Pack!
Every week.
Every week in stereo.
And it kind of gets the mood of the show going.
It does.
It's
It's what
exciting.
starts everything.
Exactly. Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry
and
Christmas
Happy
to
New
you.
Year. Did you have a wonderful Christmas?
I had
Christmas?
a great Christmas.
Yeah, Joe slept through it.
Yes,
Joe
I did.
slept through the whole thing.
I actually did.
No, it was really good, though. It was really good. My kids, we started off with, something I thought was extremely rewarding over the DePelchin's Children's Center.
Yes, we did.
And that sort of set the tone for the rest of the week, which I thought was absolutely incredible.
Well, let's do a little shout out again for the wonderful volunteering. We have two of them today with us.
We have two of them with us, absolutely.
We have Samantha Maret and Colleen Pye, both
Yes.
with us today. Both were wonderful. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
And it was I think people who hadn't been there really were touched by it. I noticed that
Yes.
both Colleen and Samantha were visibly moved by that. Is that a good way to put it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was very touching.
So, and of course, to remind our listeners out there, is we were with gifts. We had people sponsor a child, and what was there? Probably about 15 or 16. children?
There was a total of, actually, it ended up being a total of 18 children. Some of them weren't there because they were on day pass.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
From that perspective. But we ended up bringing out to 18 children their Santa list, and it was extremely rewarding. They were just ecstatic in being able to receive
I
those
didn't know
gifts.
kids could scream that loud. They were having a great time, and of course, again to Bobby Baker with Gian Homes. Thank you. Your team just did a remarkable job, and I've got a whole stack of cards from everybody that contributed. So their whole company, they're right there in Briar Park, contributed.
Oh, it was
Something.
amazing. It was. I mean, we had a lot of people step up. A lot of people, from my office, from your office, from Colleen Pye here, from Gian Homes. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. In fact, Colleen and I got up there and started dancing the Cupid Shuffle, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I never saw an elf move that way.
It's wonderful.
And
Some good dancing. My favorite part was helping a little girl open. She was struggling with the ribbon on her package, and as she opened the gifts, she was excited and everything. And I asked her how she liked her Barbies and her backpack and her makeup, and her words were, "How did they know?" She'd only been there 2 days.
Yeah,
and
she
was not on the
little
list.
little Savannah. No, she was not on the list. We had
was not
we
there,
had
yep.
three added on to it.
That's what Christmas is about.
Yes, and it was very touching. And she was so happy. And she wouldn't let go of that backpack. She was just, and it had wheels, and she was just rolling around all over the place with it and stuff. So she was just she was a sweetie.
Well, and I tell everybody is this time of year, it's truly about giving. It's in fact one of the things my son told me. He's only 5. He said, "Daddy," he said, "Christmas is for giving. It's not for receiving." And I think that's a perfect. That sort of epitomizes what we did. And continue to need to always do and to preach, for lack of a better word, is this time frame is really about giving. It's about getting out there. It's about giving to others. It's about helping others in need, and especially when it comes to the children. Those children that were the DePelchin's Children's Center, they are not there for any reason of their own. They are there because of other circumstances they were put within. And for us to be able to provide that moment of excitement, the way we built everything up, the way we spoke about the North Pole, the way we really did a lot of stuff to get that excitement. And then when they yelled, as you mentioned right there, that yell was just priceless right there.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It's such a testimony to the quality of folks we've been blessed to be able to bring on the show. We have always focused on bringing on the rock stars of the industry, and that's our
And we have two today are rock stars.
Absolutely. And they're leaders in the industry. They're producing. They're at the top of their game. But it's consistent amongst that audience that they all, when they have the opportunity to give, our guests have really risen to the occasion and gone overboard. We've had more stuff than what we asked for. We had extra presents. We had more stuff than they had kids.
Right.
And that's the kind of people that we bring on, which is I'd lost my word there.
Can't say conducive.
I was trying to say conducive, but it wasn't what I meant to say. It's consistent. That's what I meant to say. It's consistent with leaders. It's consistent with people that are at the top of their game, that they're givers.
You know, in being there and talking with everybody that was there, we just want to give more.
Yeah.
Yes.
It wasn't enough. We talked about maybe doing a birthday thing, so I'm sure that
we'd actually talked with
things.
Samantha and I were this morning before the show. We're talking about what about Christmas in June, and I said, well, we actually did talk with Ava there, who is the residential manager,
right,
about doing something during the year because they never ask us for stuff.
They don't ask. That's the thing. They're so amazing what they do with these kids, especially the ones in treatment, just getting them acclimated, but they don't ask for help.
And a lot of people think it's just an orphanage home. It's not an orphanage home per se. There probably is some orphanages. These kids are all in treatment sometime, and there's a facility right there on site.
Oh, yes.
Where they do it. So, and you brought your little one. What's your little one think about all this?
I'm so appreciative for the opportunity to have those conversations with her and for her, to let her see it. My daughter said the same thing when we were there. She said, well, what about me? If Santa Claus was there was an elf. She was tickled pink. But I said, no, this is when we give. And she said, oh, well, I want to give it to her. And she, it was wonderful to see that.
She was so cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's just 4 years old, but already kind of understands that
not everybody
has a stable home or having childhood.
We're also called to remember those people that work there. Mm-hmm. Wow, what hearts and what patience they have, and I don't know. We need to do something for them.
Oh, I would agree. One of the things, because they have a lot of their counselors that were there, and you could see them. They all walked up. I mean, to me personally, they walked up, gave me big high fives and hugs, and they were just extremely appreciative that we also took time. But they are the ones that I'm appreciative of because they're the ones who are there every day working with these children, making sure they have a better life.
And of course, you were a fabulous elf. If you ever want to give up that mortgage gig, I think you've got a second career as an elf. That's one of those moments I wish we had, some sort of streaming broadcast so everybody could see you in your elf.
Yes, especially dancing.
Especially dancing, right? The dancing elf.
A line dancing elf.
I'll get a girl costume next year.
That's what we'll do. We'll tear it up together,
tear
right?
It up.
Well, it's all about that holiday season. What everybody is. My character always is. I love to dance. Period. I love to have a good time, and so when that elf outfit goes on, I just continue on the same way.
I had some comments out there and go, that elf's got some moves.
Well, I was very envious of you guys, not getting to hang out any longer, but had to bail and didn't want to get everybody sick.
Yes,
and we thank you for that.
Yeah,
Joe made a great sacrifice. He brought gifts down that were left up at Chris's office up in Kingwood.
Well, Marjorie with JLA actually went out there and bought gifts for every child. So we mentioned a lot of extra. We had a lot of extra gifts. And so we were able to really stack them up on some extra things as well.
Exactly.
I'm not going to lie, I didn't want to. So I went straight back home and went straight to bed, and I woke up about 18 hours later.
Well, but that's the charity and the giving that you did, and we appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad we had the extra gifts because the ladies at the center said they typically get 3 to 4 on Christmas Eve.
Oh, really?
That is awesome.
I did not hear her say that.
Yes.
That's
good.
Sad.
Oh, wow.
But they also have a little, if you notice that there's a cabinet in the entryway.
Right.
And when there's good behavior, they actually have a stack of toys in there.
Right.
And when they demonstrate good behavior, they're allowed to go choose one out of that. So whatever gifts we had that were extra went into that cabinet. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, that's cool.
I did hear about that. The other thing we did is we also raised enough money to give them almost $1,000 to go out and buy some sensory tools that they needed for the children. Yeah. So it was
really good. And we still have some coming in because a lot of people wanted to give, and of course, this was a pretty crazy real estate year, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. People were pretty slammed time-wise. They wanted to be there. They wanted to give. They ran out of time.
Well, you know what? I don't think we are limited, that Christmas has ended and that we can no longer receive gifts. So we still have a great listening audience out there. If you guys want to donate to the DePelchin Children's Center, get in touch with the Real Estate and Rat Pack. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter. We're everywhere now.
Wherever you want to be.
Yes, absolutely.
I heard a specific need. PS2 controllers, things of that nature, they need those. So if you got a new system and you've got old controllers or old game, they can use them
Well, we
because they
got
go through them,
PS2s last
unfortunately.
year.
Yeah,
So
very
the
fast.
controller's already broken.
Right.
It's a
correct.
very
And what Colleen was
room
saying
full of
is-
kids, I'm sure.
They tend to
Right.
have
We didn't-
tantrums and issues like that, and so they get
Well,
broke.
we need to get them some controllers
Right.
away.
Well, you know,
Do they have
and
any needs
that's a
for
great call-out.
TVs or anything? Did they say anything along that lines?
Yeah, they do need. They would like to have TVs because those get unfortunately broken as well.
Things get hurled at them was the
I did not
Yes.
hear all that.
yes,
Yes.
exactly.
So they need new TVs and controllers again.
Well,
Okay.
the TVs are still working right
Okay.
now, but the big thing was controllers for the PS2s.
Well, let's get that taken care of
Yes.
next week.
Absolutely.
There's no point in having those consoles there if they can't do it.
Right.
So anyway, what they're looking for also is gift cards, and
Correct.
they'd like to have it from Walmart or Target because that's where they typically go purchase things.
That is correct.
And so if anyone's interested in contributing, like they contact the Real Estate Rat Pack. You can contact me at 281-543-0527. This is Rob. And Chris,
You can contact me at 713-256-9138.
and
You can also send email to info@realestateratpack.com. info@realestateratpack.com.
We're like a real entity.
Yes, a real entity right there.
You are. You're famous.
Someone will actually check that email.
So, let's talk about a little bit about real estate.
Yes.
It's a real estate show.
It is a real estate show. You know, we're coming up.
Oh,
You know, we're
nobody
in
said anything
December.
about
We're
work.
right after the holidays right now. We're coming right up to New Year's. And let me tell you, 2014 has been a tremendous year. We're sitting next to two
yeah.
ladies right here who can attest to that tremendous year we're going through right now. I mean, Colleen, how have you seen 2014?
It's been phenomenal, and I think 2015 will be just as phenomenal. We've just got to kill the notion that because oil prices are down, guess what? People still, they buy a first home, they upsize, they downsize, they join a family. All
Kim,
kinds
go ahead
of reasons.
and cancel
Real estate,
that
keep going.
bunker contract that we had just put in.
Well, you know, and Colleen, one of the things you're saying is right. I mean, everyone right now, and
It's not the end
and
times.
don't get me wrong, oil moves up and down. So right now we're going through a temporary downturn in oil, but it will move back up. It's inevitable. It's like anything out there; it moves up and down. But the one thing that people have to realize is that Houston is a diversified economy. Whereas before we were 60% oil and 40% other services, nowadays we're about 45% oil and 55% other services. Medical is extremely strong.
Insurance.
Insurance is extremely strong.
Food service.
Food services are extremely strong. Technology.
You know, we outpaced Austin for attracting technology companies.
Absolutely.
Which was unusual because most of the time they always gravitated to Austin.
Right.
Just because it's that kind of mindset. But we outpaced them this year.
Right.
I think we're still going to see increases on real estate itself.
I've heard we have some of the biggest credit repair companies in the nation.
Yes, that is correct.
Wow. he got it in there.
Do we know anybody?
So, Kim, we're going to start working on that new home for 2015 because we're going to talk about goals in a little bit. So I think that's a worthy goal is that Joe buy Kim a new home. So now that you're like one of the biggest credit repair companies in the country.
I'm feeling sick again.
We're looking out for you, buddy.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you know that is one of the things that I want to tell everybody out there is 2015 is going to be equally. In fact, one of the things an economist recently put out there was that for Houston, independent of what oil is doing right now, Houston still is going to see at least 2 to 3 years of extraordinary growth.
Well, you know, there's so many things already in motion that really can't be stopped. You know, the Exxon move is in motion. It's happening. People are already moving in here. Now, some of the smaller companies, they may stop because at $56 a barrel, some fields do get shut down.
That is correct. But, you know, you still have a lot of stuff going on. You still have a lot of buildings that are happening. You still have a lot of stuff going on. We're going to continue to talk about that because time's running out on this break.
I know. We're having fun, though.
We are having fun. So stay tuned. We're going on break, but we'll be right back.
You give me fever.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
I get scared.
And we're back. As the commercial said, you can reach us at 800-808-5548. We are live. We are taking phone calls as always. If you want to talk about anything,
a lot of people
or have a question, give us a call.
A lot of people took the easy way out and did pre-recorded shows.
That is correct.
We're here, right?
But we're here. We do the live stuff
we are
anytime.
dedicated to it. So we've got Colleen Pye. She's with Remax Realty Center out in the Cypress area, and we were talking on the break about what a phenomenal year she had. But I want to talk about 2015. So talk about what we were talking about earlier.
Oh, okay. Well, we're kind of talking about goals and maybe how to change things up a little bit. And one of the things Chris and I were talking about was being empathetic and understand maybe what somebody else is going through rather than jump to the conclusion that they're just real jerks.
That doesn't mean they're not real jerks, too.
Wow. That's a thought.
I know. Say what I really feel, right?
Yeah.
But I think
Mental
it's important
note.
that we all work on that and also work on the giving. I mean, we are so fortunate.
Yeah, we are. And we were talking about even though oil prices were down, they're probably about $56 a barrel right now, I think, overall.
Overall, right? That's
for
correct.
Saudi
Because you've
light
got your
crude.
Western Intermediate crude, you've got the international. I mean, you have different, crude prices.
But the
that do
benchmark
everything.
usually the Saudi light crude, I think, is typically where they kind of
Right.
they price it at. But there's so many things already in motion. Of course, in your part of the world, you probably do go up to the woodlands in the spring and those areas where the Exxon people are moving in. So I don't see that slowing down because they're already in motion.
And there's people from, like, New Jersey, for instance, that come here, and our tax rate is so low.
Are we letting them in?
Yeah, we're letting them in. They're here.
Oh, dear.
But, our economy is such that they can live here and have a huge, huge house and pay less in taxes. So there's all kinds of reasons still to move here, and the job they get here is such a huge, huge raise.
And we
Right.
talked
I think it's
about
like an OSHA requirement or something. We have to have 3 Yankees to every. I don't know.
I
what
didn't
the
know we were opening up our boat
ratio
to
is.
the Yankee states. But anyway,
Well, and what Colleen was talking about, we were talking about in the break, is, as this market has been a hyper market in 2014, and it's going to continue to be very strong in the 2015, 2016, and we are an international community, a lot of times that empathy we have to have is because there's so many moving parts in a real estate transaction, right? I mean, you've got to go out and find the home, then you've got to get the inspector, then you got to get the lender, then you got the appraiser, then the appraiser comes back, and sometimes it can have issues to it. And then you've got to get closing coordinated, and then if it's a new build, you got to so you have all these different aspects of things. And then on top of it, we're in Texas, so we have things operate a little bit different here. Then you got the title company involvement with it, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of times, what ends up happening is individuals get really confused, and they can get that frustration. So, a lot of times that empathy is not only understanding what they're going through, but also learning how to communicate correctly through the process so that they have an easier
on that
way
line,
of transitioning.
I'll tell you something that I became aware of last week was somebody got busted out of a deal because and this is why you hire professionals, knowledgeable professionals, know the area. It was in a flood area.
Right.
They did not know going through the course of the thing that it needed flood insurance, which is something they should have known day one. And so right at, a few days before closing, they thought, no, you have to have flood insurance. And, of course, the deal broke out because that added quite a bit to the payment each month.
Yeah.
And so, hire professionals when you're working these areas. And we have a caller online?
We do have a caller online, actually. We have Jim who is calling in. He has a question to ask one of our great individuals. Jim, how are you doing?
Great.
How's it
Hello?
going, Jim?
Great.
Well, you have a question for us?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Trying to move 2 pieces of property undeveloped in a subdivision, pretty rural subdivision south of Livingston. And the desire is to move it quickly. What's the best way to go?
Give me a call. Let me have the address. Well, there's if they're unimproved, like I said, call a realtor. Call someone that specializes in moving those types of properties, which I happen to. But you really want to know, what it is that you can get for not doing. What's your cash number? What's your net? And so we can go down and work through all of the worksheets and see what it is your goals are for how quick.
Well, I've called a couple of people and I've yet to receive a call back, so
that's
I'm
very
frustrated.
I bet that happens quite a bit, and I apologize on behalf of people in my industry. But again, I can be sure to give you my phone number, and we can talk after the show if you'd like.
I can guarantee you that if you will pass your information along to one of the outstanding realtors here on the show, that they will call you.
Absolutely. In fact, why don't we have Samantha? Why don't you give out your number, and then we'll also have Colleen give out her number. And Jim, go ahead and write those down, and that way you can make a good decision, and I'm sure that they will give you a call back. Sam?
I got it. Ready.
I'm Samantha Maret, Maret. My website is Maret Group. My cell phone number, I'll give you that, is 832-589-6646, and you can call me most of the time.
I'm sorry, 66?
46.
Okay, thank you.
And Colleen, how about you?
281-932-2784. My email is info@colleenpye.com, COLLEENPYE.com. And as Samantha said, yeah, sorry for other realtors not calling you back, but we'll take care of you.
Yeah, you've got two excellent agents here in this studio with us right now.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the studio.
Exactly.
with us,
And both of them can take phenomenal care of you. They are multiple-time visitors to the show, which is, as we say on the show, rarefied air.
Yes, Colleen just became a two-timer. Officially. And
As I
think
said, almost
you're
a virgin,
three-timer.
but not quite.
Thank you so much.
You bet,
you,
Jim.
Jim.
Thank you for calling in. We appreciate you listening to the show, and give us a call back and let us know how the whole process goes for you. I know these either one of these ladies can take great care of you.
You betcha. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was great. You know, one of the things when you were mentioning two-timer, I heard the yell go out, by the way. That was
The goat
hilarious.
scream.
The goat yell. It was phenomenal, by the
What
way.
timing, huh?
Yes.
My wife absolutely hates those, which makes it all the better. So, that one was for you, baby.
I don't want to know.
I found this video. I don't even know where I found it, but I found this video of the goats screaming, and it was multiple
It's on
different
YouTube.
goats. It's on YouTube, but I don't know where I originally came across it. And for whatever reason, I just found it absolutely hysterical.
You like goats, don't you?
I cried laughing so hard at it, and I'm not joking. Like, I watched it 10, 15 times and cried laughing every single time. And my wife is like, it's kind of funny.
No, but I'll tell you what freaked us all out just now. The fact that the goat went off and you said, "That's for you, baby." That's what Colleen was really referring to.
Like bugging eyes here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just heard the radio click off.
And yeah, and my daughter is just like, "Can we have a goat? I want a goat."
And then you're talking about movies and goats.
There's a goat fetish in the studio right now, and his name is Joe.
And you got the other one that's
That is true. So
what were we talking about?
We were
goats.
talking about real estate, about empathy, about 2015 and things going forward right there, and how we were talking about obviously between the break, but it's important to establish good communication throughout that process.
The prime example of not communicating was what I would just shared with you, and that's what different. You get somebody like Colleen who's professional. I promise you that person would have known. Hey, this has to have flood insurance. Before they can't see your head shake on
Yeah,
radio.
exactly. It's just so important to inform the public about different properties and just really the truth before you get too far into going into a loan and go, oh, surprise.
Yeah, well, that's a big surprise. They had a seller that house was empty.
Right.
It was an investment home. Thought they was going to have a closing, and the buyer thought they were going to be able to move in for Christmas.
Right.
It didn't happen.
Right.
So
Wow.
And it's one of those things. I tell everybody is any lender out there, and I can speak for most lenders is, there are times you're going to miss a closing.
there are no other lenders.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
Only will have been mortgage.
It's not so.
But there are times, unfortunately, whether it be for the lender's perspective or for the buyer, for whoever it needs to be, you're going to miss a closing, right? And it's inevitable. I mean, everyone's going to have to go through that. And what I tell everybody is, that's whenever you really realize who you're working with, because that communication, the key, the empathy, the ability to correctly articulate what needs to be done to be able to get it to happen correctly, and hopefully you're being proactive before that process happens, so that people are prepared ahead of time. Yeah. Sometimes it's inevitable. Sometimes it can be avoided, and so you have to go through that process, and you have to understand.
There's those mortgage people out there and real estate people out there who are kind of afraid of their clients.
Right.
And they don't want to tell them what they need to be hearing.
Right.
And so they get like they're closer to the closing, and all of a sudden, oh, by the way, I didn't really want to tell you, but I have to have this document, and, it didn't appraise.
Well, what ends up happening out there is a lot of times, you're right, is it's hard to deliver bad news. It's hard to deliver news of, I can't make this, or we've got to address this, or your appraisal didn't come in at value. And these are things that all of us deal with in this room all the time. And so it's the reality of what exists. Real estate is a lot of fun. I thoroughly enjoy what I do. I know Colleen and Samantha does as well. We thoroughly enjoy what we do. But it becomes a lot more enjoyable whenever you can communicate that and deliver the bad news equally as fast as the good news.
Remind them there are going to be bumps along the way.
Yeah.
There is no smooth transaction. As much as I try to make it easy as pie, it's not
Set
that
up
easy.
easy as pie. Yes, I always love your
We
slogan.
talked about this a little bit the last time I was on. If you, as a professional, have your systems intact, then a part of that is you have your laundry list of documents that don't apply to every transaction. But if you have the foresight to just ask for those things up front, then it becomes a flag in the beginning. And then with communication, you can prepare your buyer or seller for what could happen on both ends, starting because you have all the information. But I think what happens a lot is we're in this business every day and we have several closings a month, but this is still a major purchase and a major life-altering experience for them. So not being able to be reached and not being able to have good communication with your client is frightening for them. Oh,
yeah, I would absolutely agree. And that's why, one of the things is, I thought about it, buying real estate is absolutely the American dream. Mm-hmm. And more importantly, it's something that I highly suggest to everybody, and especially, go out here and find either Samantha or Colleen and buy a home. I mean, I absolutely agree with that. But understand that the process does have, some good parts and it has some challenging parts to it. And the best way to always make sure you address that is to have somebody who communicates well with you.
You've had a couple of challenges in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I remember that large deal you had a challenge.
We've had one of our strongest months ever in the month of December. I mean, probably my strongest month ever in the month of December. And remember, I'm a big volume producer, so that's saying something right there. And, so it's inevitable when you're doing 25, 30 closings that you're going to have something that's going to go wrong with a couple of them right there. And some big ones as well, don't get me wrong. But, it's a matter of how you address those. It's not fun, don't get me wrong. It's not fun to have to tell somebody you can't make a closing date. But it is something that needs to happen. You need to make everybody prepared for it. That is correct.
And tell people what's happening. I know, Colleen, you work with an assistant, Colleen?
Yeah, I have two.
Two assistants. Mm-hmm. So that leveraging yourself is so smart, because I know a lot of agents will get out there and they want to get more business and things like that, but it gets so busy they can't handle it, but they don't go hire an assistant.
It was not easy to get to that point.
Yeah.
But when you let go, now real estate, now I get to do the fun stuff.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And I know,
I'm
Sam,
back
you
to
work
doing
with
the
an
fun
assistant
stuff.
as well.
I do. I've got 2 and a couple VAs, and my buyer's agents too. Because also with communicating with your clients, your personality may not meet every person out there as much as
point.
Not everyone loves me, but I do have a pretty
Everybody
diverse
loves
team.
you.
How could not everybody love you? Come on.
And then we get to have time to come on a show like this.
Yeah, try to have some fun.
Eat and sleep and do other things.
Oh, sleep. That's a concept.
Well, we tell everybody is, we do real estate to live life. We don't live life to do real estate sometimes. And so one of the things, you have to have that balance, right?
Yeah.
You have to know that all of us in this room thoroughly enjoy what we do, but we do it because we enjoy what we do.
But until you learn
fun.
to live with yourself, you don't know what balance is.
That is
and
correct.
I'm sure Colleen was talking, he kind of referred to that as that until you get to that point of having somebody you can afford to hire, it's all you.
Yes.
It's all you. And,
It was for a very long time.
very long time.
And they look at me and go, how did you do it by yourself?
And you go, I don't know.
She goes, it wasn't as easy as pie as it looked back then.
No, it was not.
Guess what we are up against right now? A break again. Time flies when you're having fun.
Gotta pay for the show.
We got to pay for the show somehow. For all those listening again, you can reach us at 800-808-5548. But we're taking a break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm in love.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back. time flies when you're having fun, and between the break, we always have such interesting conversations.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
We ought to share it with our listening audience.
We need to actually do a show. It's called Between the Break.
Yeah, we've got Samantha and I were having an interesting conversation about the CFPB and some new stuff on medical collections and Fair Isaacs or FICO on medical collections. But we have a couple calls on the line. So.
We do have a couple callers that are going to be in here, man. But one of the things I wanted to talk before we do that really fast is, as Colleen and I were talking about over here, there are some changes. Samantha brought this up. There are some changes coming about on August 15th of this coming up year, 2015. And one of the things I implore everybody to start doing is start practicing it now. Don't wait until August 15th to make that change. Start practicing those changes that are required to happen now, because you know what happens? If you don't practice it now, August 15th, and you start practicing, it's going to be a lot worse.
Well,
tell them
what those changes are.
I have the most time-sensitive side of the real estate process here, because invariably we will get the call, I was referred to you by Chris over at Willow Bend, and I'm supposed to be going and closing next week, but my credit needs another 100 points. I'm like,
Things that make you go,
and the goat scream. Yeah.
Well, number one, I would tell you this: I would never refer somebody over supposed to close next week who needs 100 points.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. But we get those calls. We absolutely,
imagine, yes.
and December, November is the slowest period of the year for us in credit, and then we get to our busiest time of the year in January, February, March. We're just crazy busy. And it's because that's when people are starting to want to be ready to move.
Oh, yeah.
School's going to let out or whatever else. I'm like, now is the time you need to be thinking about your credit, is December, November, those time periods, because it's going to take you 4 to 6 months to get where you need to go.
Well, speaking of some time, we actually have we have two callers on the line. The first one actually is going to be I think it's called Kayla. Kayla, how you doing?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. Thanks for calling the show.
Sure.
What was your name?
Well, I have a little bit of just what you were talking about as you went to break, as hiring an assistant. I happened to had my real estate license several years ago, back in 2001. I used to work for Enron, and then I got my real estate license, and I was with Keller Williams and really enjoyed it. But I had another small business going at the same time that just took off like gangbusters, and that's what I've been doing for the last 14 years. I am now at kind of a crossroads, and am looking to go back into real estate. Of course, I'm going to have to, I think there's some new courses that I'm going to have to study up on and retake the exams again. In the meantime, I am trying to thinking about maybe working as an assistant for a realtor, so I can learn the ropes and be really good once I do hit the streets, if you know what I mean. Do you have any suggestions for me?
Well, Colleen, we'll let you start off first.
Yeah, Kayla, I do. I know a realtor. You can call me at 281-932-2784, and she is looking for an assistant.
Fantastic.
And I
okay.
would be happy to help you out with that.
Oh, that is great. I'm so glad I called and I'm listening. So, all right, Colleen, do you want me to call you on Monday? Would that be better?
Oh, you can call me on the weekend. It's fine.
Okay, I will give you a call later on. Thank you so much, guys.
I'm here.
All right, have a good day.
Thank you,
Thank
Kayla.
you for calling the real estate hotline for jobs.
We do our best to cater to every aspect of the real estate market right there.
The Rat Pack job line.
We're going to go right into our second call, by the way. We have Robin, who is actually calling in right now as well. Robin, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Well, we appreciate you calling in and listening to us right here. You have a question for our crew here?
I do. First of all, I wanted to compliment you guys on the show. I'm a new listener. I've been listening for about 6 weeks.
Awesome.
And I really enjoyed the show. I love the attitude you guys have of helping everyone in the industry succeed. And I think that's a really positive place to be coming from, and just wanted to give you a compliment on that.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. And, that's what we try to do, is make sure that not only we're fun and happy, but we also give some good information out there so that individuals who are either in, buying, selling, or owning real estate and the whole supply chain of that, enjoy it.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, I wanted to ask if you guys ever do a show anytime throughout the year on becoming a real estate agent. You guys have really sparked my interest. I think it's something I'd like to pursue, and I wonder if you ever address that on your show about how to become an agent. I know you have to get a license. But beyond that, the further education you should pursue, or what steps you should be taking, not only to become an agent and get licensed, but to be a successful agent.
to be a successful agent. I would agree. Well, Rob's a good one to address that.
Yeah, and we actually had Rita Santa Maria with the Champion School of Real Estate on, and we talked about that, careers in real estate. And so we intend to, because she's about to have a big announcement. She's going to go nationwide.
Correct.
And so we're going to have her back on, and we're absolutely going to talk about that. But, you are welcome to call me at any time at 281-543-0527, and I'll be happy to talk to you about careers in real estate, where to go, where to start, and things like that.
And if Rob could slow down and say that number again, it'd be great.
I was going to ask the same thing.
543-0527.
Also, I've videoed a lot of what I've done over the past couple of years because of training virtual assistants and other people and other realtors. And so I've got a lot of video footage that I'm in the process of cleaning up that I'll put up on my website here by March. That's my goal. So, but one of the main segments is becoming a realtor and starting to pull together your processes.
Okay, and can you give out your website again, please?
It's MARET group.com.
MaretGroup.com.
Yes, ma'am.
I got it. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the answers, and thank you so much for doing your show.
Thank you very much,
Robin.
We
Thank you for
appreciate
calling.
listening.
Sam touched on something right there, just in passing, systems. I'm not a realtor, but I wanted to weigh in on that question, Robin, for you, if you're still listening there. Something I am passionate about is business. I love building businesses. I love building systems. She's nodding her head over here. Systems, processes, and workflows. We had a caller earlier, Robin, that is an unfortunate testimony to the lack of business systems, where he said he called a couple other agents and hadn't gotten a call back yet. That's a system failure. That means that there was a system that wasn't in place that allowed that person to expediently call back. Most people in business fail not because they aren't technically proficient at the tasks that they're doing. There's plenty of realtors who know the business of real estate, but they don't know the business of running a business. And real estate is no different than any other business. It is a workflow, a process, and that's the part where so many people fail at. So I would encourage you, Robin, to, as much as you study real estate, endeavor to find some good material on building successful businesses. Or coaches, as Sam just said as well. There's a great book out there called The E-Myth, E-Myth Revisited. I would highly recommend it. It is a great, great, great basic intro to building businesses. And so it doesn't matter what the widget is, so to speak. If you learn how to build a business that successfully makes widgets, you can step out of almost any industry and jump into another and do the same thing, because every business has the same processes. So
the other thing, Joe, to highlight on that as well, is there was an article I read, or actually there's a book out there. It's called The Myth of Multitasking, and both these ladies have actually jumped on that, because one of the things that as you build a business. And both these ladies have done that. They have grown. They've gotten additional staff. They've gotten assistants. They've gotten buyer's agents, et cetera, et cetera. Guess what? The myth of multitasking, that one agent can be that entire business, is a myth. You have to grow. You have to get individuals who know how to do and supplement and enhance other aspects of what you do. Because the only thing you end up doing, if not, you end up doing everything, as they say, halfway, right? Because you're trying to do everything at once.
And if you're a micromanager, it's going to be really tough to grow, because people have a sensing, because they're very guarded about their business, so they have a real difficult time letting go.
But if you have good systems, then you're just giving the system, you're passing the wand over for them to execute it. So if you've really thought through it and written out your procedures, then it shouldn't be a problem.
If it's duplicable, it's repeatable.
Something about success, I think, is also helping others to be successful. I think that's one of my key things, is that I'm not afraid to help somebody, because there's enough real estate out here for everybody. And if we can help Renee make a decision, because some people are not cut out for it.
Exactly. No,
it's more than showing houses, right?
Yeah, I got a great, exactly. It's a lot. That's
you mean it's not just showing houses?
That's the easy part. That's the fun part.
I just had to say it.
But I got a great book for Christmas that I wanted very much. It's called Tribes, which I think that you'll like it a lot. It's Seth Godin. He speaks a lot on TED Talks. He's fantastic. But one of the things that the book has started, I'm about 14 pages into it, because I started reading it last night. But it talks about leadership and how everyone is a leader in some aspect, but everyone is also a part of a tribe and part of a team. So I think as realtors, we've got to remove the aspect that we're in competition with each other. we're all working towards the same thing. That isn't necessarily, we don't have to lead everything.
Rob says this all the time, and I thoroughly agree with him, is we are all in co-opetition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to know that each one of us want to grow our respective businesses. All of us do, right? But it's important to know how to do it the right way and in conjunction with other professionals that are like-minded and that can assist you in growing. One of the things that I do all the time is when I go out there and we talked about goal setting for 2015. I've got a very, very big goal set for 2015.
Lofty goal,
yes,
but
very lofty
we're
goal.
Get there.
Right, set for 2015. But part of that is getting with my business partners, getting in with you, Samantha, and with you, Colleen, and going over those goals, but also finding out what your goals are. Mm-hmm. Because I can't achieve what I want to achieve without your help, but I also want to help you achieve your goals. Because if we can do that in conjunction with each other, it makes us all better. So it's about that aspect of getting together and learning from each other.
Why don't I pass that on to Congress?
What a concept.
That's a different story, right?
Well, if con is the opposite of pro, then what is the opposite of progress? Yes.
Yes. Well, we'll skip that subject on another day.
Another show.
Because I do have some political people lined up for this year, so we'll have them on. We'll talk about it at that time.
Well, we have obviously our local Congress is going to be in session this year. This is the year it comes into session, 2015. And, we do have a lot of stuff on the plate that we're going to be talking about throughout this 2015 year.
And on April the 14th, all of us realtors are going to be heading up to, Austin to visit with all our, representatives.
That is correct.
And state senators. So we always let them know what, about property rights.
Well, and property rights are very important. One of the things I told everybody, we are blessed to be in Texas for a lot of reasons, but one of them is the property rights that we do or are able to exercise here in Texas. I mean, we have a very strong community. We have very strong laws. It's protected a lot of individuals. And when everything went south in 2008, guess which city and which state really survived because of a lot of those laws?
It wasn't New York City, was it?
And it was not New York City, even though they're still doing pretty strong right now. But Texas during that time frame was still the number one. So.
It still is right now.
Yep.
So I think we're coming up against a break. Is that
right? We are always coming up against a break, it seems like. Our subject matters are so profound and so fun.
It's so vast.
And so vast. We can go on forever. But as they say, we have to take a break. We have to pay for the sponsors. So all those listening again, we have one more segment you can call in, 800-808-5548. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Like me, you can bet as sure as you.
Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we're back. Time flies when you're having fun. This is the last segment of the show.
Really?
One of the things we're really going to be talking about right now is getting back into some of those goals and visions. We had a really good conversation right down during the break. I do have to do a big shout out to Bill Napick. Bill and I I'm going to be a guest on Bill's show this afternoon at 4 o'clock. We're going to be talking about goals and vision boarding for 2015. And, that's what we're going to talk about a little bit right now. We talked about a little bit about goals and vision boarding. We'll start off with you, Samantha. You exceeded your goals in 2014. So 2015 is a new year. But one of the things they said, because you exceeded those so much, is that you had to actually come up with what that one word you want to be associated with in 2015 is. Talk a little bit about that.
Right, yeah. I have a business coach, Jared Pollack. He's amazing. And he sort of put it to me that to choose one word that will really signify every action that I do, where I want my business to go, because my business is a moving part and the team's growing and it's really difficult to set one definite goal for it right now. And I have my benchmarks in place, so I'll be okay. But really, how do I want to feel? I mean, last year was coming from a place of contribution and gratitude. This year, it rattled my cage for a couple months, actually. What one word? And it hit me a few days ago, and the word's remarkable.
Remarkable.
Worthy of remark.
I like that. That
Make some changes.
That is really good. And I challenge a lot of people out there to listen to this show and whether you're in real estate or not, listen to some of the things we're talking about, because this is good to do no matter what you're doing, whether you're working for a Fortune 500 company, starting a small business, working for a small business, working in retail, working in, as a waiter. Whatever it is, it's important to have these goals. It's important to do this goal setting and vision for 2015.
Colleen shared with me on the break that on her vision board from 5 years ago about building a house, and you're building it now.
Yeah, we're going to be building it in 2015.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I start my team meetings. The other day I had a team meeting with my girls, and we were talking. I was like, you're single women, you live alone, so all of these beautiful things that you love, your jewelry, your dresses, your whatever they are, pull them out of your closet, hang them on the door, surround yourself with things that make you happy, and you want to envision yourself, you want to have growth other than just goals, but really just kind of putting those things that really sing to you and inspire you in your forefront.
And surround yourself with people who support your goal.
That is right.
And share your goal, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, sharing your goal is huge. I have
because it puts you a little accountable, doesn't it?
Oh, I have a friend of mine that I said, I only want to make a certain amount. And he goes, what? He said, oh, no. He says, that's not acceptable. and he pushed me. And so every time I exceed my goal, I hear him going, that's not acceptable. Because a goal is where you want to be. But awesome and remarkable is exceeding.
Yeah, those
it.
are a lot bigger words.
Yes.
There's in the last couple of years, I came across Audible, and Audible is just one of those on your phone you can get it apps, and you can listen to books. $14.99 a month. It's super inexpensive, and for like $21.99 a month or something like that, I get 2 books a month. I'm on that plan, and I inevitably go over that and buy another book or 2 a month. But it's amazing to me that now the time period that we live in, that information is so accessible, knowledge is so accessible. If you are yet in a place that you can afford a coach, get Audible. I mean, do something to challenge your mind, to continue to grow. I've studied the most off-the-wall subjects that have been so fascinating to me, but yet have challenged me and affected my thinking. If I had one piece of information or thing to encourage people out there, the Robins that are looking at going into business, maybe you're not in a position yet of affording that coach, which is absolutely something you should do. Man, invest $14.99 in yourself and get one doggone book that is going to challenge you. Listen to it 2 or 3 times in that month. Grow your mind. That's my big encouragement.
The other thing, there's other people who are wanting to achieve their goals. Partner up with that person.
Yes.
Partner up. There's probably people in your office. You can make each other accountable for it. Share it goals. Of course, I've got Chris Kelso calls me every weekday morning. So I've already got that person.
Yes. But I call you every day, and I go over my goals with you. And you and I are working on common goals as well. But, you're right. It's get buy-in, not only from your team, but from those from your extended group of peers and partners and friends.
But have someone dedicated to hold you accountable, an accountability partner.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Get a partner. It doesn't necessarily have to be a paid coach. It could be somebody else who wants that they want to achieve goals, and so that's kind of your trade-off.
Yes.
And the people that suck the life out of you.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Get those, or if there is somebody negative, you can make it positive. You have to say, let's find something positive in your negative life. I think that it helps me to help them, and it might just make a change for them.
If they're receptive to that. But some people want to stay in that place, and not only do they want to stay in that place, they want to bring you with them.
Yes.
To their place.
Not going to their place.
Yeah, not going to their place. And those are the ones that really you need to, they're toxic. And if I'm coaching somebody, I'll ask them, so who's in your life calls you the other day with the same problems they've always have every day?
Right.
And I said, you need to either get them to...
And they keep doing the same thing to get the same results.
Exactly.
The definition of insanity.
Yes.
And so those are the people, the toxic people, is a huge part about you being successful because they will drain you.
Yes.
And it's staying up is a lot harder than... It's easy to stay down.
Right.
And when they're taking time out of your life, I always talk money makers and time wasters. Get the time wasters out of your life.
And as you mentioned right there, it's important to surround yourself with individuals. If there is somebody negative, I always tell everybody I always give somebody a chance to turn that around, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's turn a negative into a positive. But sometimes if you can't, you can't be dragged down with an individual who's in a pace in their life sometimes in which they can't be dragged out of that right there. So, give everybody a chance, but at the same time know that sometimes you have to, that means there is a point to move on sometimes.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest revelations for me in 2014 and the stuff I was reading on even goal setting.
That you really do want to buy Kim a house.
No. This is one of those kind of a duh statement things, but when you attach it to the next thought, it's where the revelation came from. There's an old saying that we all know, practice makes perfect. Right? We all know that statement. That's kind of a duh thing. The more you do something, the better you get at it. But this is where you connect it to the next thought. For those people that dwell in negativity, right?
They get good at it.
They get good at it. And here's an interesting thing about the way the brain works. Our brain is like a computer processor, or CPU. It has limited processing power. And there's a term in the neurology world that says, to explain this principle, neurons that fire together wire together. So the more we practice a task, the more the brain allots processing power to that task. That's how we get better at it, right? So it increases the processing power for a thought. Well, what happens then is that the inverse happens. The more the brain starves other thoughts, right? It takes away processing power because we have limited processing power. So if you want to get better at something, let's say you want to be less negative. It's not you think about being less negative. You think about being more positive.
I'm doing something good for somebody else.
You do the opposite behavior, and it will starve that thought process. So when a person is looking for the things to be negative about and upset about, they literally get better at it, and they become worse at seeing the positives.
So you want us to starve neurons? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, absolutely. The more you practice the behavior of looking for positive things to be encouraged about, literally the worse you become at seeing negative. It's not that the negative isn't there. It's there. But you just are no longer equipped to see it. It's amazing what happens when you open up your mind to the possibilities of seeing positives and starving those negative thoughts.
Yeah, just the very little things like that, small tweaks, small changes throughout the day. When you see someone in the grocery store gave you a dirty look, they're probably not even thinking about you. They're probably thinking of 1,000 other things in their mind. But, when you feel that, because we're human, look at them and go, that's a great color blue. Or just there's always something, and it will immediately change your mindset, change your mood from receiving that.
The other thing that happens a lot in real estate and in general, not only real estate, but everything, and it's what you were talking about, Samantha, is a lot of times, and I studied this a long time ago, a lot of times we react to someone's email or text, which are the two worst things, by the way, are the way somebody can write you an email or a text, and they're in a busy situation, right? So they get something from you, and they put, deal with it, right? I'm just using that as an example, right?
There are bad emailers.
I did not send you that.
Exactly, right? And so what they're saying is they're probably in a meeting, et cetera, but you get a text, and you're like, wow, that person right there is not a happy person. So don't read. Sometimes what I wanted to get to is you can't rest a judgment a lot of times on what other people are doing to you, because a lot of times it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with something that they're going through in their own personal life, a situation, a moment, a period in time, dealing with something else. And unfortunately, great thing about technology is, guess what? We're always turned on. We are always on, right? The bad thing about technology, we are always on.
Yeah, and we're scared of the phone. Call someone, hear their voice. So much is lost in text and in an email. Just call and confirm, have that conversation. And it's 9 times out of 10 a completely different result.
And I tell everybody also, take the time to if you take the phone call now, it will avoid you having to take 10 phone calls later on.
And the anxiety
take it and
in
set
between.
the expectation. Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
Respond to the text, respond to the email. Mm-hmm. I got your email. I'm currently in a meeting. I'll be tied up for the next 3 hours. Or I got your voicemail, et cetera, et cetera. Probably one of the funniest things I got the other day was a client who called me up, and she was frustrated with a lender, and it wasn't a local lender, it was a national lender, and she goes, I'm switching to you, Chris. And I said, why? And she goes, well, the problem is I call this lender in XYZ city, and she goes, I call them up and say, hi, this is XYZ, can you please give me a call? I want to talk to my. I hang up the phone, and then I get a text or an email back that says, hi, I heard you just called, what can I do for you? And she's like, I need you to answer the phone when I call you. And she said she only talked to the loan officer one time, the initial loan application. And then every time she would leave a message, in fact, it was a referral that Joe gave to me. Every time she would leave a message or call, she would get a text or an email back. Learn that that's not if somebody wants to be communicated with and they're calling you, guess what? Call them back. reach back out to them. There are right things to do.
You know, we've got about 2 minutes left in the show, and, we're going to do a really quick lightning round.
Lightning round.
We'll start with Colleen. It's like, what would you like to leave people with?
What would I like to leave people with?
I asked you first.
Just really what we're talking about is the way you react to somebody's ugliness is a reflection on you. And I'm working on it. I've been working on it for the last 2 years, and I'm just had spoke with my husband. It's not all about you. It's what they're going through.
Absolutely.
That is true.
And Samantha, what would you like to leave people with?
Well, I think a little bit of what we've already touched on. I think that investing in yourself, get educated, learn more, even if it's just something, crafting or anything, it doesn't have to be about business, but get inspired and do something and follow through and make that commitment.
I think those are all great things. One of the things that we always do, we leave the show with a great quote. And today's no different. Actually, Mother Teresa said the following, it's, I'm being totally serious. It's not how much we give, but how much we love, how much love we put into giving. And I think
Amen to that.
I think that is absolutely true. I mean, it's appropriate for what we started off the show with, which is the DePelton's Children's Center. It's even more appropriate what we're ending it with right now, which is understanding goal setting and visions for 2015. Love what you put out there. Love what you do. Mm-hmm. Extremely important.
If you don't, go find something that you do love.
Absolutely.
Be
nice. We are
nice.
having a great time. You can always look us up on Facebook, Real Estate Rat Pack. Until next week, we are out of here.
Thanks, guys.
And you've been listening to the Real Estate Rat Pack. The question is, who's Frank, who's Sammy, who's Dean, and who's the other guy?
Chris is Frank,
I'm
he's
Dean.
Dean, and I'm Sammy.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
So tune in to the really big show every Saturday at 9 a.m. right here on 100.7 The Word, KKHT.